Hello all, today I will be talking about great leaders in sport management. So I will be talking about what makes an effective leader for the audience of sport managers. In Module 4, Lecture 2, Dr. Montag discusses the trait theory of leadership. This theory states successful leaders have these 5 psychological leadership traits: dominance, intelligence, self-confidence, high energy, task-relevant knowledge. Specifically, I will talk about the task-relevant knowledge, as it is one I have experienced firsthand. This past summer, I worked at a retail company for a sporting team, and my leader was a general manager, and I felt like he was one of the great leaders that I have had. And so his task-relevant knowledge came from starting at the company at an entry-level position, being a buyer, and so this gave his past experiences, gave him task-relevant knowledge in which we could all relate to and learn from. So this made him a successful leader because this knowledge offered him some expertise, power as well, which has been discussed in another lecture as well. So he could use his past experiences as a buyer or a fellow team member within that organization as relevant examples for us to learn from and bring that knowledge to getting our tasks done effectively. So because he had, started from the bottom and worked his way to general manager, he could use some of his past experiences when any buyers or myself had any questions, because he kind of had that task relevant knowledge and expertise there. So I think that was one of the traits he had that made him a great leader as well, among others. Another one would have been he was employee-centered. His employee-centered behavior. So he ensured that employee satisfaction always happened or occurred. And I noticed this on the very first day that we came into work. He organized a team lunch for us so that we were able to get to know each other better. And because I was a new person, an intern, we went out to lunch and obviously had some discussions to try and learn more about each other. So that initial meeting made it easier to be able to work in groups. So this is the Michigan University theory that we had discussed earlier as well, and it was employee-centered behavior. He also focused on the employees and providing a cohesive work group. So like I said, we worked in a team and we were expected to work together to get a task done, and this was very relevant that it was a priority from the beginning. We were identified as a team and expected to work as a team. So throughout the company, there are multiple different functions throughout the team, different teams that worked together in this group. Some members worked on NCA, and they were known as Team Diverse. And just being known as a team made us all realize that we were supposed to work as a team. It was basically in our title from the very beginning, so that was obviously a priority from the very beginning. And then lastly, he also had a couple different principles that Carnegie talks about in his 9 principles to an effective leader. Praise was one of them. Every time we got something done, he would always be thanking us or saying that we did a good job. And I just remember that quite often. He would say thank you, and that was one thing that, as an intern, I really appreciated, because, usually as an intern, you're the low man at the totem pole, but my work was being praised, and he did so, and so that made me work even harder. And obviously, as a leader, that's one of your goals, is to make your employees work as hard as possible. He also owned up to mistakes. So anytime we did setup at a stadium, he helped us with that as well, which I thought also made him a good leader. He would be willing to do the small little things to help us out. But even so, when we would set up a stadium, mistakes obviously were made, and he would usually take the fall for that when the VP or CEO would come in and talk to us to see what those mistakes were, and he usually would take the brunt of that, even though some of it may have been other team members' mistakes. He would usually take it for us and to do that. So I thought that also made him an effective leader. And then whenever we would do walkthroughs, he would ask questions instead of direct orders. So he would ask, "What do you think? Does this look right here?" And we had been through training and had realized, how the store was supposed to be set up. And he would obviously realize these quicker than what we would. He would say, "Does this look right here, or is this part of one of our principles for setting up a store? Is this how it's supposed to be?" And instead of saying, "That's not how it's supposed to be, you need to change it," he would ask us questions instead of the direct orders to do so, so that we could learn from our possible mistakes, and instead of just demeaning us and saying this needs to be changed, he would include us kind of on the decision as well, because not always would this be an obvious choice to be changed. So that was another effective leadership principle that I thought he had. So in conclusion, I don't believe there is one specific way of being a great leader. However, through my past experiences, especially this and this past internship, some of the traits or behaviors discussed in these lectures have shown some specific traits that stand out of a great leader that I know he possessed. So he had that task relevant knowledge from working his way up in an entry-level position all the way up to being the general manager of a team, and using that knowledge to help us better ourselves. He also was very employee-centered by talking to us in a way to make sure that we knew working as a group and working cohesively together was very important. And then finally, some of Carnegie's 9 principles he also obtained, and I was able to experience those firsthand, like his praise and asking questions instead of direct orders, etc. So that being said, I think he was one of the great leaders that I have been able to have experiences with, and some of those traits I hope to use in my future as a sport manager.